Hey guys, Vladimir Kramnik has just given a 2-hour interview in Russian and I've watched all of it, and a lot in this interview is about obviously the late Grandmaster Daniel Naroditsky and Kramnik's anti-cheating campaign and the consequences of this campaign. And I have to say that there have been lots of interesting, using Kramnik's words, parts that I am about to share with you. I have here a printed transcript of it. For me to not forget anything, I will look into it occasionally. I thought whether I should or shouldn't make this video, because on the one hand, discussing anything Kramnik says could be deemed as like giving him the platform or stuff like that, but it seems that some people still are fans of Kramnik, and I think they should look into what their idol is saying to maybe have an opportunity to change their mind. So let's start. The interviewer is Maxim Omariev, a good friend of mine, one of the most popular Russian YouTubers in the area of chess, and he has decided to interview Kramnik, also asked his subscribers to give him questions, and he initially, of course, wanted to ask him about Dania, and the first question was whether Kramnik believes that he is, at least to some extent, responsible for this tragic event, for the death of Dania. And Kramnik says, you know what, I was the one who noticed some strange things about Dania. I was trying to help him and to draw attention of the larger audience to it by posting details about the last stream of Dania where he was visibly distressed and probably affected by something. That's what Kramnik is saying. And then he says that when he learned about Dania's passing, he learned of it because lots of people started writing Kramnik, bombarding him with DMs and with threats, and he believes that this is, quote, an orchestrated campaign against him by the chess mafia, obviously. He says that this campaign has been going on for a long time. I think he really believes it. Some people, they are just more prone to believe some conspiratorial ideas, conspiracy theories. Maybe this is like some, I don't know, maybe the fact that he used to live in the Soviet Union, distrust for institutions, maybe this, maybe some other causes for this, but he's the guy who apparently believes that there is some chess mafia controlling everything. While I do believe that there are, of course, various like forces of power in the chess world, but Kramnik's ideas of this seem a little bit too far-fetched for me. Not a little bit. So let's continue. There is a quote here by Kramnik that says there is one institution that has the monopoly in the area of information, and the chess world is living in the false, like under the false illusions of what's going on. The chess world does not know the reality. And then Maxim, the interviewer, says, but you, Vladimir Borisovich, you posted lots of content about Daniel Naroditsky, and he himself said that this has negatively affected him. It looks like you've been bullying Dania for a year, and then this tragic event happens. Don't you feel some kind of like responsibility? And he says, well, we don't know, Kramnik says, we don't know the cause of death just yet. I never bullied him. I never bullied him. You can take a look at my videos. I was specifically saying that these are not accusations. Well, this is the favorite Kramnik mantra, you know, that he's not accusing, he's just asking questions. He said that I never accuse him of cheating. You will not find anything where I say this. And he referred to a tweet that people found on the internet where Kramnik is saying that Dania cheated. And he said, well, in that particular instance, I was talking about the particular incident where Daniel used the engine when the game was not over yet, and he himself admitted to it. That's why I called him a cheater, because he himself admitted that he is a cheater. That was the point made by Kramnik. For those of you who don't know, I have to say that this incident did take place. Dania did use the engine during one of the games, but it was a training game against a very weak opponent, like 1000 elo points lower rated than Dania. And Dania was a queen up at this point, like plus 10, plus 15 evaluation of the position. So the game was effectively over at this point. And Daniel, educating his audience during the speedrun, decided to turn on the engine and to check something that happened in the opening long ago. So he was not looking for computer assistance. But still, it's a violation of rules, of course, even though I wouldn't call this cheating. So Kramnik is like trying to say that he did nothing wrong here, that this is cheating. Maybe he can argue this position, but I'm not sure that people, especially Kramnik's fans, who watched like 15 or 20 videos by Kramnik about naroditsky, I'm not sure that all of those people would agree that there were no insinuations or accusations in those videos. I've watched most of those videos while preparing for my podcast with Kramnik. And my impression was that he was like viciously attacking Dania, like bullying, maybe not accusing directly, but still bullying. But that's my opinion. Then Kramnik says that lately, over the recent months, I haven't actively posted anything about Dania. That apparently means that he stopped bullying Dania, or he never bullied Dania. And then he says that we do not know the reasons for what happened. Maybe Dania had some personal stuff going on. Maybe he had some problems in the family with his girlfriend, or maybe he had a conflict with Hikaru. Kramnik somehow manages to drop Hikaru into this. But it's true that we don't know all the details of Dania's death yet, and it's probably premature to draw definite conclusions about this. In this respect, I agree that we should not jump to conclusions too fast, even though I personally believe that there is one theory that looks very, very probable, and that theory involves some part of Kramnik's role in the events. I'm not saying that he is directly responsible, obviously, but I think he realizes also that his behavior had consequences. And later in the interview, they discuss this as well. So that's what I summarized was like a 20-minute response by Kramnik to the question about Dania. And then later he said that everything that is being discussed publicly is a lie. I am preparing to go to the court against everyone who smears me, who says anything bad about me, about my role in this event. So obviously a very effective tactic by Kramnik, because he lives in Switzerland. He has probably some money still from his tournament victories and stuff like that. So he has money for lawyers, probably. And not all people whom he's going to sue have money for lawyers. So that could be an effective intimidation technique, even though I'm not sure that it will work. So if you ask me, I'm not saying that Kramnik is guilty of causing Daniel's death. Not necessarily. I'm just saying that there is some interesting statistics using Kramnik's own, saying that there were two guys whom he attacked publicly, Daniel Naroditsky and David Navara. And one of them, David Navara, said, including on my podcast, that he was considering suicide because of the pressure that he was facing, because of the cyberbullying, because Kramnik's fans attacked him, and Kramnik himself maybe not directly attacked him, but insinuated that there could be something wrong with him. So this one guy spoke about this and said that he was on the verge of committing suicide. And there is another person, Grandmaster Daniel Naroditsky, who unfortunately passed away. We don't know the reasons yet, but also being victim of Kramnik's videos and content about some maybe cheating, maybe not cheating. That's what Kramnik is saying. So I'm not saying that Kramnik is guilty. It's just some interesting statistics, and the experts should look into this. Using Kramnik's words, I think that's what I can say. And Maxim, the host of the podcast, the interview says that, Mr. Kramnik, you don't have to directly accuse anyone to cause some bad things for this person. Look at the Magnus and Hans story. Magnus never directly accused Hans of cheating, but still, many of the invitations of Hans were revoked, and he faced some public pressure, and that's definitely true. Even though I think that if we compare Dania and Hans, obviously, I think much less people would have questions to Dania than to Hans, who has himself admitted to cheating on several occasions when he was underage. But that's a different story. Still, this was a good question, I think, about Magnus and Hans, because Kramnik also worked with Hans and maybe still works with him, I don't know. And Kramnik says that, let's not go too deep into this topic now. This person is dead. It's not the time now. Well, I'm glad that he said that, but why did he continue posting, tweeting all those things, all those insinuations, even after Daniel died, like on his X account? That's a wise idea, not to discuss those things when the wound is still fresh, when the person has just recently passed away. But why did he do it in the first place, like in the first couple of days, during the first couple of days, even before saying that my condolences, I don't know, something like that he could have said on his X. But his tweets were much different, unfortunately. And then Kramnik says that I have lots of data, I have lots of statistics, I have a team of mathematicians, we have prepared lots of evidence, lots of information that should be analyzed by experts, but none of the actors in the chess world, none of the interested parties are interested in looking at this. I've offered my assistance to FIDE, I've offered my assistance to chess.com, other actors as well, and somehow nobody is looking at my work. He looked frustrated with that. And probably it's true because, to tell the truth, not many people believe that Kramnik is like trustworthy and his statistics and his methods are adequate. Most people by now in the chess world probably believe otherwise. And then he says, I am a victim of a public campaign that is 10 times worse than anything that my opponents have encountered. Well, I don't know. Very, very bold statement, of course. But this is the case when the bully also gets the taste of their own medicine, as they say. Because, yes, of course, lots of people hate Kramnik and write bad stuff to him. I don't encourage you to do this, by the way. I don't think this is the way to proceed. But this is what happened also with people whom he accused, or not accused, but whom he covered in his videos and X posts. Then also about Navara, Kramnik said that I never accused Navara of anything. I was ready to give him all the data. I wrote to him an email, and he wrote back to me an email. And in this email there was written "Dear Vladimir," so I assumed that he likes me. That was a funny part of it, because dear and name is like a standard way to address somebody in an email. It doesn't mean that Kramnik is dear to Navara. I doubt it. So, and Kramnik was complaining that Navara did not want to look at his statistics. Well, it's strange, you know what? I can imagine someone coming to me and saying that I'm suspicious. And not coming to me, but coming to me is okay, but online accusing me of something, and his fans writing to me accusing me of some bad stuff, and then he comes to me and says, you can take a look at my research, my data about how you did some bad stuff. That's weird. Then about Kramnik's data, he said that nobody wants to take a look at this, and the only way to proceed for me is to go to court go to court against Navara in this case, because he said that I insinuated something about him and I didn't, so I have to protect my reputation. And against everyone who is saying bad things about me now, including probably like half of the chess world. I don't know. We will see whom he sues. Then Maxim, Max, the host of the podcast, says, do you believe that chess mafia is real? Who are those guys? It was a funny moment to me. Like, is chess mafia in the same room with us right now? Something like that. And Kramnik said that, yeah, there are very, of course, it's half joke, he said, but there are very influential powers in the chess world, and chess.com is not the top of the top, he says. There are some people behind chess.com. Very interesting, by the way. I would have loved to learn more about this, because I've interviewed two founders of chess.com, and I should have asked them probably. I don't know, maybe the aunt of some of the co-founders who gave them the initial investment, maybe that's the force. I don't know. Maybe some Masons. We will have to find out. And Kramnik said that he was given security by the Swiss authorities, some armed security, because he's facing threats. And I think I believe that's true. So obviously, lots of people are writing bad things to Kramnik right now. Again, I'm not saying that this is a nice thing to do, but still, he's facing some consequences of his actions. Then they discussed Levitov. Levitov is the guy. Maybe you watched my other video where I recapped the debates between Kramnik and Daniel Naroditsky on another Russian channel that is called Levitov Chess. And Ilya Levitov used to be a friend of Kramnik, but over time he realized that Kramnik is doing harm, and now he has publicly denounced him. And they talked about Levitov for some time, and Kramnik said that he is no longer he's no longer a friend. He doesn't exist for me anymore. Then they discussed Shimanov, Alexander Shimanov, a very strong grandmaster from Russia and a very strong, first and foremost, blitz player. In the World Blitz championships, he did really well. In some chess.com event, I remember him beating Magnus, for example, once. So he's a strong player and a content creator, whom also Kramnik indirectly accused of cheating. And Max asked Kramnik whether he suspects Shimanov, and Kramnik said, yeah, I suspect him. So that was surprising. He directly admitted this, even though I personally know Shimanov, and I would be very much surprised if there was anything fishy about him, because he streams all his games on Levitov Chess on that very channel that we were talking about. And I know the team. I know the guys who run the channel, and there is a team who help with the stream, and they have the full access to the monitor and the computer of Shimanov, Alexander Shimanov, Grandmaster. So if there is anything fishy, then the whole team should be involved in cheating entitled Tuesdays, which is very strange to insinuate. And he is not winning title Tuesdays. I think he never won it. I think he took the second or the third place a couple of times over the last year, but that's he's not making money of this. So I find it very weird. I think that this is a personal vendetta by Kramnik towards the team of the Levitov Chess channel, personally. But that's just my personal opinion, obviously. Then they discussed Niemann in the podcast, and Kramnik said that, yes, I suspected him initially, but then he came to me in good faith, and I realized that he's legit. Similar to what to the answer I got on our podcast with Kramnik, I think a year ago, or something like that. Then they discussed the Topalov-Kramnik match, the World Chess Championship match, which took place in 2005, I think. And Topalov accused Kramnik of cheating in that match, and maybe this has started all this. Max asked this, and Kramnik said that no, it was impossible to cheat in that match. There were technical things installed preventing any signals from coming through. So it was ridiculous that Topalov accused me of such thing. And honestly, while listening to this, I was like, isn't this the very same thing that is happening to most of victims of Kramnik's bullying? Like the Levitov case, for example, the Shimanov case. He's also playing like without any technical opportunity to cheat, unless you think that everybody is like involved in some conspiracy scheme and helping him cheat during streaming Title Tuesday on one of the largest Russian language chess channels, which is very, very unlikely. So, and I think that Kramnik also did not cheat during his match with Topalov, also very unlikely. I don't see any difference, frankly. So Kramnik's response was, I think, illustrative in that regard. Then Max asked about how do you choose the person you are going to like investigate, and Kramnik was going at length about his great intuition as a chess player, and the fact that a top chess player will definitely know that something is fishy after looking at someone's game for quite some moves. And I think that this is a very slippery slope, because I'm sure there should be done some tests, some research in this, but I'm sure that very often even the top players' intuition about cheating is wrong, because many young players are much stronger than they could be in the good old times. Like 10 years ago at 2500 was much weaker than today at 2500, and I think intuition of retired players is not a good metric. But okay, Kramnik believes that his intuition is very good. He says, I can be wrong sometimes, of course, but most of the time I'm right, he believes. And he says that they analyze those 1,000 games and they have developed an app for this. I'm wondering when they are going to show this to the public, because I've heard for 2 years already from Kramnik that he has this team of mathematicians. They are developing something, but it's not going out. It's like GTA 6. Everybody's waiting for this. Then about Jaspam. They discussed Jaspam, Jose Martinez Alcantara, the famous online Blitz legend, and actually he is very strong offline as well, currently playing in the World Cup. And Kramnik, when asked if he still suspects Jaspam of anything, he said, well, he didn't prove anything to me. I won the match. And Max said, but you lost the first one. You won just the second one. And Kramnik said, yes, but I won the second one. And the online part, playing on computers, I won +2. That's why I won. And that is very interesting statistics. And this is just a classic example of Kramnik cherry-picking statistics. So he just concentrated on one of the two matches, because this match was like something that satisfied his requirements for proof that something is fishy. So he took just the match where he played a little bit better than Jaspam, and he took the online part where he played a little bit better than Jaspam, while over the board with pieces, Jaspam I think scored more than Kramnik in that match. So it's classic cherry picking, what to say. Then they discussed Levon Aronyan's letter. Levon wrote a letter addressing Kramnik as a good friend, and saying that maybe you went too far. It was a couple of months ago, I think. And then Kramnik said, well, he doesn't believe the facts, Levon. He doesn't know the facts. He should have looked into my data, my research. He's just like listening to what everybody is saying, and he did not realize the gravity of the situation, something like that. Then they discussed Grishuk, Alexander Grishuk, also a guest of my podcast, by the way. Grishuk is the only person who publicly not supported Kramnik, but he said that, guys, it's too far. You are like creating a witch hunt campaign against Kramnik, blaming him for everything. I don't condone this. This is bullying. This is what Grishuk effectively said. Even though Grishuk does not believe the methods of Kramnik, he himself said quite sometimes on Levitov chess channel that he finds Kramnik's statistics not too professional. And I think in my podcast also he said something like this. I'm not 100% sure, but I remember him saying this. So, and Grishuk has a good background in mathematics. He's also a strong poker player, lots of statistical knowledge, much better, I think, mathematician than Kramnik. And Grishuk doesn't seem to trust Kramnik's methods, but he says that we shouldn't attack him. And I think I respect this position, even though probably Kramnik deserves some consequences for what he did. So even the guy who supports, like the only guy who supports Kramnik does not support his methods. That's very, I think, telling sign. And last but not least, again, Max asked Kramnik if he feels at least some portion of responsibility for what happened to Danya. Is he sorry about it? Some guilt? Does he feel some guilt? And Kramnik responds here that maybe I feel some tiny bit of guilt or responsibility, but definitely less than chess.com. And Kramnik says that chess.com somehow let down Danya by kicking him out of Title Tuesday when he did not set up Proctor, the special software for playing, which happened a couple of months ago. And then he said that they stopped inviting him for commentary gigs, which also is one of the factors in his opinion that led to what happened. I don't know. I don't know the details of all this, but I'm sure that Kramnik's impact, in my opinion, was more significant than any of those events that we discussed. And then he quoted Dostoevsky, like a typical Russian. He quoted Dostoevsky. He said that, you know what, everybody is guilty, as Dostoevsky said. And I'm personally a big lover of Dostoevsky and other Russian classics. But why do the cringiest guys always quote Dostoevsky? Do you know the answer to this? Please write it in the comments, because whenever a guy has a very questionable agenda and is very cringe, at some point he will quote Dostoevsky. That's just my observation. I don't know. Kramnik fits this, by the way. And finally, a nice question. What is your dream? Max asked, and Kramnik said to take a couple of weeks off and go on vacation, turning off my phone without getting involved in all these wars online. For all this to be quieter, more peaceful, for all this to end. And you know what? I think that it's a great moment for Kramnik maybe to do that, to turn off his phone, to go on a vacation. Maybe he will like cool down a little bit and rethink some things that he's doing, and realize that maybe he's doing more harm than he thought initially. What are your thoughts, guys? Write them in the comments, and thank you for watching.